The rat race of America can be tiresome. And it's just like the stresses here can cut your life expectancy short. I had a conversation with a family member. He told me, be thankful that you've had the experience of both worlds, meaning that I was born here in the States, but I've gotten a chance to see other places. He wanted me to remember that the U.S. is great in the land of opportunity. Duh. Fresh off vacay, I come back to the doom and gloom news cycle. When you're in other countries, you don't hear about this stuff. Let's stop with the fear mongering and just happen already. It just feels like in this country, we're constantly walking on eggshells. Welcome back to the channel. This is Can I Be Ernest, back with another video. For those of you who are new to the channel, if I'm not making videos of interest, I'm usually doing some type of commentary, either from the car, the park, sometimes on the beach of the Caribbean. Why? Because everyone else does. Well, what a difference. Last video, I'm in a bucket hat, sunglasses, and swim trunks. Today, I'm vest and hoodied up. It's cold. So last video, I was touching on the possibilities of living abroad someday. With the doom and gloom of our country and just the political and societal climate, there's been a mass exodus of people moving to other countries. It can be offensive to some who are very patriotic. To some of us, America is the end all be all. Some think, the world revolves around us. Everyone comes here for opportunity. But over the last few decades, I would say things have declined here overall. Hence the reason I think a lot of people are looking for a way out. Whatever you want to name. And we have a laundry list of things that we can name. But there has been a mass exodus, and I'm starting to get that itch. And I touched on it last video after, being on vacation and just, having traveled throughout my life and seeing other parts of the world and coming up with my own conclusions rather than being influenced by the propaganda here. We're guilty as a country of kind of painting other countries and other groups in these weird lights. Growing up, I remember hearing like all the horror stories of Africa, the continent that you just didn't want to step foot there. You were afraid you were going to catch every disease. You were going to get attacked by every type of animal. Then all of a sudden in the early 2000s, all these celebrities started fleeing to, Ghana and, getting citizenship. And of course, those in the know were doing it long before, but just it became mainstream and everyone started going over there and now you got your passport bros and everybody else who just like to travel the world because they got a chance to get up, get out and see it for themselves. There were certain parts of the world that were just mocked. You can't go to Asia because of this, or you can't go to Africa because of this. And then all of a sudden you started seeing people living in these places and living good lifestyles. So I'm starting to get that itch the older I get to wanting to, if not have a dual citizenship, to perhaps just pick up and go, and I get back from vacation and it's like, besides the climate changing and it being cold and the trees being bare, there's seasons, where I live. And I'm not a big seasons guy anymore. I don't need to see the wintertime. I don't need to experience autumn. I love autumn. I don't need to experience these things. I can deal with a rainy season and a summer season and be content. And most islands, that's what they go through. And I'm ready for that, quite honestly. But, like I said, I come back to all the doom and gloom. I'm following some of the news stories, making their rounds while I'm away, from the individual who sucker punched a rider on the subway in New York to a guy losing his shit on a flight, kicking his seat and just throwing a tantrum. And it's just like the stresses here can cut your life expectancy short. They just can. This is also not saying that the grass is greener on the other side. We know for sure that just because you go on a vacation, that's not everyday living for most of the locals there. You have to work in some capacity to make a living. But the desire to be on top and make the big bucks, it lessens when you go away. So yeah, this is not saying that, America's the worst and everyone else is better. This is saying that when you get older, it's okay to explore other cultures, other lifestyles, and fit in. Because the rat race of America can be tiresome. There's only so many years you want to keep trying to get to the top. I got to make this salary. I got to have this car. I got to have this home. I got to have these clothes. That gets tiring after a while. It just does. This is when you have a sense of awareness. If you don't have a sense of awareness, then you're a young person. You're just starting out. So this might be like intriguing to you to buy the latest whatever and wear the latest whatever, have the latest phone and get the biggest house. You might care about that stuff. But once you reach a certain age, that gets tiresome. You want to maybe own land and not be 2 feet away from your neighbors. You might want to wake up and have breakfast overlooking the ocean on your laptop. Your desires change. So I know a lot of people get a little bent out of shape when there's a negative tone towards America. Oh, you're not a patriot anymore, or you've never been, and if you don't like it, then leave, and we're the greatest country in the world. All that's cute, but when you get older, your priorities change. And I think there's a lot of us out here who want to make a change with our lifestyles. And you could have an okay lifestyle here, but maybe there's a need for simplicity, and you can't get simplicity in the States anymore because simplicity equates to poverty in some cases. There's really no middle class anymore. But if you go abroad, what's deemed as maybe low class here can actually be a difference maker overseas. But I'm at the point now where I might be willing to do retail or work as a tour guide or something in a different country, not worried about the salary, and adjust to the lifestyle out there, wherever that is. Because something's off here. And I don't know if this whole campaign of making America great is going to take America back to the times where, everyone could pretty much afford their lifestyle. It's all cute, for votes, and it's all cute for popularity and just marketing and whatever. But will it really happen in this lifetime? We're decades removed from the 40s and the 50s. Times where, my grandmother used to tell me were the best times of her life. A black woman telling me that the 50s, a black woman from the South at that, telling me that the 50s, the 60s were great times in this country. Go figure. Can it ever go back to that? I don't know. Which is why the intrigue to live elsewhere increases. Because once you travel and see how people live and you're okay with that, it's manageable. Think about it now. We're in a time where if you're a couch potato and you need to see every show, everything's streamed now. You can live abroad and still have the same lifestyle you had in the States for the most part. Aside from learning a new language, you can pretty much be okay. So if you're a sports fan, perhaps you can't see your teams play every day or every week. But with technology, sure you can. Sure you can. It's a lot easier to live abroad now than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. The lifestyle that you're accustomed to in the States, you can pretty much continue with living abroad. With technology, everything's possible now. So the fear doesn't have to exist. You can FaceTime. You can do this. You can be on your social medias. Everything exists. But again, I come back to the doom and gloom news. I come back, I'm hearing about a UFO or UAP invasion that's scheduled for, sometime this week or this month. It's just constant. How come you never hear about UFO invasions or whatever else in other countries? There's never any announcements. The hysteria is different. Being away and keeping track of the news cycle, you come back home and you're skittish. There's so many people here with mental issues. It's spiked over the last few decades. I don't know if it's just because of medications or the foods that we're eating. Something's off. And when you go to other countries, I'm not saying they don't have their own nut jobs out there, but it's not at this level. Again, there's law and order, and that's something that I'm big on. I'm cool with people having their freedoms or wanting their freedoms, but I'm also big on law and order. I'm also big on proper etiquette when you're in public places. When you're out and about, sometimes you don't want to hear motorcycles racing, doing 100 miles an hour on a street, or guys blasting music from their car. I don't want to hear your music, bro. Or I don't want to see all your ass out if I'm walking out and about. Sometimes you don't want to see all that. So I like certain law and orders of other countries where if you even spit on the sidewalk, you can get punched in the face by a citizen, by a local, because you're defacing the property. There's certain things we do here in the States that we get away with that you can't get away with in other countries. And I like that. I like when I go to other spots, I don't see that much littering. People have more respect. They're more mindful of their surroundings because we share the environment. So I'm at the point in life now where that's what I want. I don't want to walk around and just shake my head when I see a bunch of kids, acting unruly, or adults acting unruly. I lie to you not. On vacation, there was a few times I'm walking through the town and you can see homeless people and they're just minding their business. Minding their business. No panhandling, nothing. They're just sitting there. They're probably struggling just based on their appearance. But no panhandling, no harassment. You don't think you're about to get robbed. Again, I'm not saying people don't get robbed when they go places, but when you know, you can see the difference in lifestyle and culture. And I'm clamoring more towards the culture of other places because this one here, I've reached my expiration point. I had a conversation with a family member, short conversation, and he told me, be thankful that you've had the experience of both worlds, meaning that I was born here in the States, but I've gotten a chance to see other places. And I'm like, I'm blown away by that comment because it's not that I'm unthankful, but basically the comment was said because he wanted me to remember that the U.S. is great in the land of opportunity. Duh. I know this. I was born here. Just because it's the land of opportunity and because it's a capitalist society doesn't mean you have to embrace everything else about the country. You can like a few things and hate everything else. And you can be admirable of how other countries work, even if they're strict, even if there might be a little dictatorship, a little, whatever. You can admire other systems in this world. Because you can watch how their people act in public, how their transportation operates, the infrastructure. There's this notion that, man, if you embrace everyone else but your country, you're not a patriot. And that's not true. That's not true at all. So again, this video was made to kind of just give more detail, more context as to why I'm slowly starting to adopt this attitude of wanting to experience life in another country. I want to see if their news cycles, wherever this country is similar to ours, where around the clock there's coverage. I want to see which countries have all this fear mongering. I want to see how they protest during times of unrest. I want to see what the everyday lifestyle is. Because again, this one here has become tiresome. and I know I'm not the only one who feels this way, you're allowed to get tired. You're allowed to be tired of the same BS. We're tired of the same BS when it comes to relationships, when it comes to careers, when it comes to money situations. You're allowed to be tired of your country. You're allowed to be tired of your city, of things that are happening. I know people who personally will not leave New York City. That's all they know, and they love New York. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just fear the life expectancy, the stresses that you don't have to endure elsewhere. Imagine waking up every day, going to New York, hopping on the subway, and that could be your last subway ride. You're in a tunnel with strangers and anything goes. Anything can happen. The dude getting sucker punched really did something to me. And I'm on vacation watching this and I'm bothered by it and don't live in New York. So again, I digress. I just wanted to add more context to the last video and, give my reasons to why I believe living abroad might be the way to go once I reach a certain age and check off certain boxes. I'd rather deal with the stresses of the unknown than to continue dealing with the stresses that I'm accustomed to. Because the stresses that I'm accustomed to here don't make for a healthy or happy experience. If my stress living abroad is not being able to follow my team, oh well. Or if I have to drive on the right side of the road, if my steering wheel's on the right side and not the left, I'll adjust. Or if English is not the first language in these countries, I'll learn their language. I'm willing to adjust.